everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Golf on Tap. It is Masters Week, baby! Jack, the Valero Texas Open, the Texas Valero Open, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. It's Masters Week. We can butcher the hell out of that name for all I care because it's Masters Week. But first, I want to let everyone know we are sponsored by OnTap Sportsnet at ontapsportsnet.com and at OnTap Sportsnet on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Joey Knows Nothing. You can follow my co-host Jack Bushman at Jack Bushman2. We are Golf on Tap at Golf on Tap. Jack, let me hear it. How the hell are you tonight, my friend?
Well, I couldn't be any more stoked that we have finally reached Masters Week. It seems like we've been building up for this. It's finally arrived, a tradition unlike any other. All the catchphrases, it's finally here, and I couldn't be more stoked. It is my favorite event of the entire season. Looking forward to everything that just goes into Masters Week. For me, I believe I'm going to be remaking Scotty Scheffler's dinner on Wednesday night to kind of kick things off. My yearly celebration is to go and get Mickey D's breakfast on Thursday morning before the first group tees off. So I'll be fresh in that drive-through line at approximately 5:45, 6 in the morning, and then just a whole lot of shenanigans throughout the week, hopefully watching an incredible tournament. Obviously, Augusta National is such a special and a historic venue that means so much. Out of all the four majors, obviously, a player will take any major that he can get, but it really does feel like this one's the most special and the most meaningful. And Joey, there is an endless amount of storylines as we head into Masters Week. I'm sure the fans and the listeners out there have already heard about a bunch of them, but it's going to make for certainly an exciting tournament. Lots to talk about, lots to be keeping an eye out for, and I'm ready to dive into it, man. I'm ready to fast forward here and skip on over to Thursday for everything to get underway. So much going on. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I think we've been dying for this for a while. The most important tournament of the year in my book, I think in many others. So it's just iconic, man. It's just iconic. It's going to be incredible. Tiger Woods is back again, but we also have the Live Golf guys, which is something we have not seen yet at the Masters. The Live guys playing here. I mean, we've seen a lot of these guys play here, so I guess I shouldn't really say that, but how does that play into this? 88 golfers in this field. And, I think we said beforehand hopping on here, I think it's 50 plus ties that'll make the cut. But like we said, it's going to be probably a lot more than that because there's going to be guys tied. So really kind of leads me into wanting to bet the top 40s because I feel like you're going to have a pretty good chance to cash in on some of these top 40s, even at a worse price. But, Jack, before we get into we're going to get into all the minutia. Like, we're going to get into everything here with the Masters. Let's talk about last week, just briefly, because we're all so excited. We just want to jump forward. Last week, you had probably your worst call of the year that you're going to have probably this entire year with Corey Conners. You're one and done. You're absolutely wiping the floor with me this season. And you'd probably be wiping the floor with any tournament that you would be entered in at this point. And I'm really sad that you're not entered in something because you'd probably be making a lot of money. But, Jack, talk to me about your one and done pick and what you didn't do with Mr. Corey Conners last week.
Yeah, quite an unfortunate situation for your boy over here. For those who have been following along for the show, for quite some time, you know what a stan I am for Corey Conners. He's been someone who I have historically lost a lot of money on over the years betting on him, even at some tournaments where he's 22-1. Heck, just rewind a year ago at the 2022 Valero Texas Open, I was going back and looking at my column that I wrote up from last year, and my first bet, my favorite outright bet in the article, 18-1, Corey Conners. And I bet on Corey Conners a ton. Didn't necessarily love his lead in form coming into this tournament. I thought it had been previously stronger in past years. He did have a decent showing at the match play, but I didn't love the 22-1 number that was following him coming into this week. So ultimately, I ended up passing on Corey Conners, although I did still end up using him as my one and done. And watching him win for the second time in his PGA Tour career and me not having a ticket on it made me incredibly sad, a huge case of FOMO. And I mean, where else was Corey Connors going to pick up the win other than the place he had already won before? The only other place he had won on the PGA Tour before in his career. It was a toughie, Joey. Certainly a toughie. At least I did have him in the one and done. But I guess it was just kind of another realization that 22 to 1 is, like that. Those are the prime numbers that have been winning golf tournaments, or even shorter than that here recently. Like 22 to 1 is almost the old, or it's the new 30-40 to 1 from a year or two ago. And while I didn't love those odds for Corey Connors, I did still get some action on Siwoo Kim at those same odds. So maybe I got to just stop not betting on guys because I don't love their number, because at the end of the day, the cream of the crop has been winning these golf tournaments more often than not. And yeah, passing up on Corey Connors was literally like a nightmare situation, Joey. It even got to the point where, and I feel terrible for this because, as mentioned several times, Corey Connors is in fact my boy. I was like rooting for Sam Stevens down the stretch. I'm like, please, please, Sam, like make that birdie putt on 18. So I don't hate myself for not betting on a Corey Connors victory at TPC San Antonio. Like, it all made too much sense. Stevens misses the birdie putt on 18. So yeah, still going through a bit of a dry spell here, Joey. We've had some close calls the last few weeks. I had
We have.
Spieth at the Valspar. I had Cameron Young at the match play. I had Matt Kuchar last week as well. Just couldn't get his putter going on the front nine on Sunday. It made me want to rip my hair out. So frustrating. But like I said last week, there has been some progression here. I can tell we're heading in the right direction. I like where my mind's at right now. And truthfully, I feel pretty good about where I'm going to go with my card as of right now. So hopefully the trend just continues. Had a lot of guys in the mix as of late. And hopefully we start off the first major of the year with a big victory, Joey.
I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping. I think, yeah, things are kind of lining up a little bit. We're catching the wrong side of some breaks. I felt really good last week with Kuchar up there at the top two with you, and I also had Dietrich before he shot. What was it, an 83?
Shout out Thomas Dietrich. I think he shot 11 over 83 on Saturday. I was scrolling through the PGA Tour leaderboard. By the way, what a good friend I am, Joey. On my starred leaderboard on the PGA Tour app, I even starred Thomas Dietrich just to see how he was doing throughout the tournament, just to keep up with your boy.
Thank you.
You elected to use in the one and done last week. And yeah, he shot an 83 on Saturday. I was like, what the heck happened to Thomas Dietrich? Made the cut. Was looking all right.
Wasn't he top 10, top 5 at one point?
I mean, he was top 10. He was up there in the mix, a couple under par going into Saturday, and then it all went negative in a hurry for Mr. Dietrich. Not qualified for the Masters, did not end up winning that tournament. So a little bit of a toughie there for you.
Yeah, not one of my finer moments here, sitting with the Thomas Dietrich one and done pick when he absolutely shits the bed and shoots 83 over. Was not feeling the best this past weekend. But you know how you can feel better? You can feel a lot better if you hit an outright at the Masters. That would make me feel a whole hell of a lot better. And with that said, Jack, I think you have something for us this week, right? What's the speaking of one and done, we're going to get to that later. But what are we doing? Let's tease it a little bit. What are we doing this week? How are you letting me potentially back into this thing? You talked about it last week on last week's show.
It's the scoreboard's a little lopsided as we reach the first major of the year.
A little.
Done. Yeah, I haven't tallied it up since I believe the Players, but I've been on a massive run here. 4 of my last 5 one and dones have been inside the top 6. I had Burns at the Valspar, he came in 6th. Cam Young at the match play 2nd. Corey Connors last week. I had Scheffler at the Armor Invitational as well. He finished 4th. So I'm going to throw Joey a little bit of a lifeline here, potentially, so that we can start to make things a little bit more interesting as major season starts to get underway. So what we are going to be doing is we're not going to be giving our one and done picks yet, but the way that we do one and done, kind of the broke man's way, because I don't like doing math and counting up all the dollars and the figures. So we did it easy. We did it golf style. Lowest score wins the one and done. Whatever place you get, that's how many points you get for that week. So you want to be the low man in this one and done. I'm going to be offering Joey, if he beats me this week, whatever position my guy comes in, I will triple the amount of points. So, for example, Joey had Dietrich last week. He came in 64th. He got 64 points. I had Corey Connors. He came in first. He got 1 point. Big advantage for me. Let's say I have someone come in 51st place this week. Well, that's going to be times 3. That's 151 points added to mine, which is basically like having 2 missed cuts in a row. So that could be definitely a big swing, especially if Joey's able to come and put together a nice little finish here at Augusta. So we'll see. If not, it could go south for Joey even more, because if I beat him, then he's got to triple his score for the week. And that's going to make the gap even more wider than it already is. So no pressure, bro. Gotta pick a good one this week. And your boy is still first, of course.
No pressure at all, but I appreciate you throwing me a bone. Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need. In this case, I absolutely need it. I mean, I don't know what I've been doing so terribly wrong with this one and done. I've been a little bit more risky. I'll be honest. I've been a little bit more risky, and I've also blown some. I've used some guys who have been like better than the field, and why are you blowing them this week? You know what I mean? JT, for example, earlier on in the season, and some guys like that. And you have just been running through.
You used JT at the CJ Cup. That was that was a choice.
It was. I don't know why I did that. I just felt really good about him that week, and I said, you know what, I'm going for a win. I thought he was top 5 or going to win. So, and with that said, I still don't feel terrible about my options this week. I know who your pick is going to be. I'm not going to ruin it, but I don't feel terrible about my options here. We are, we're head hunting. We're going for some big dogs. I think we can fairly say, safely say that anyways. But Jack, enough about one and done, because we're not even there yet. We got to talk about the actual card, things we're looking for. We are at Augusta National, of course, for the Masters. Just iconic. It's always incredible. I was looking at pictures earlier about just how everything's looking, setting up for this weekend, starting Thursday. It just looks gorgeous. I can't wait till everything tees off and we're into this thing. But talk to me a little bit about the course. I mean, everybody should know about Augusta National at this point, but if you're maybe a newer golf fan, or just somebody who wants to, maybe some key things to look for if you're looking to bet on it, for example, because I think sometimes people can lose their way a little bit. It's easy to say, hey, take the best golfers, but what are you really looking for here, Jack, at Augusta National?
Yeah, so Augusta National is obviously the most iconic and historic venue in the game of golf, but it's also a very unique and different course. There are a lot of very odd and just otherwise unique features at this course. First of all, it's incredibly sloped all over the place. There's massive elevation changes. You're going to be hitting off hills in the fairway. There's going to be different slopes. You want to leave yourself in the right spot of the fairway because there's a lot of dog legs. Angles are a big part of this course as well. And then also the greens are some of the most undulated that you see in the entire world. They're incredibly sloped. They're known for giving players fits. They're ridiculously fast, and it feels like, at least for the guys who have played here a handful of times, it almost feels like you either know how to putt here or you don't. There's really, no middle ground, which is something, kind of to look into, I think, this week. Guys who have performed well on these greens in the past is certainly an important feature. But there have been some changes to Augusta National over the last couple of years, Joey. Both of the par 5s have been lengthened. Last year, it was the par 5 15th hole. They kind of cleared some trees out and changed it up a little bit and added some distance there. They also added 35 yards to the par 5 13th hole this year as well. And that supposedly has made it a lot more difficult to go for the green in 2. It's going to force a lot of guys to lay up. And we even heard Bubba Watson and Patrick Reed talk about it in their media interviews, saying that It's probably not going to generate as many eagles as we've seen in the past because guys are going to have to hit 3 iron or 4 iron rather than 6 iron or 7 iron like we've seen in previous editions. So that's one thing to consider, the added distance to Augusta. And in fact, this is going to be the longest edition of the Masters in tournament history, now stretching 7,545 yards. Low key, I don't know if this gets talked about enough because I feel like the massive changes in elevation and the greens and the slopes and just the pristine conditions of Augusta kind of take the center stage, but it's a beast. I mean, 7,550 yards, it's absolutely no joke. And you go and look at some of the hole breakdowns. 9 of the 10 par fours are at least 440 yards. 3 can get up over 500 depending on the tee boxes. So driving distance, I think, is something that you really do have to consider here, especially when the conditions, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a second, aren't looking all that good for the week ahead. It sounds like there could be a lot of rain and a lot of cold temperatures. The ball's not really going to be traveling all that far. So I do think that could give bombers a little bit more of an advantage. So that's something I think you really got to keep in mind. Players who can poke it out there a little bit farther. That's not to say that short guys can't win. We've seen that plenty of times in the past, but at the end of the day, this is still a major championship. The course has been extended. We usually see some of the longer players, usually the best players in the world, though, are the longest. It only kind of makes sense. Usually wind up winning this event. So those are kind of the things that I'm looking for. As far as key stats, strokes gained approach, it's going to be really massive. I think strokes gained tee to green in general is just really, really important this week. I mentioned the driving distance. I think short game is something that you're going to want to look into as well because no one goes clean around Augusta National. It just doesn't happen. And if this does wind up being one of the more difficult years, you're going to have to get up and down from tricky spots. And then I think par four scoring is also another thing that I'd be looking into as well, considering I mentioned 9 of the 10 par fours are at least 440 yards. The guys that can pick up strokes on those holes, I think, are going to be able to have a leg up. So those are kind of the things that I'm looking at when going down player profiles and selecting the players that I want to go through this week or running a model. Those are kind of the key statistics that I'm looking at. And last thing, Joey, before we go and dive into the betting board here, I mentioned the weather. The weather is always a huge staple and determining factor of how difficult the Masters is going to play, right? We saw it get a little bit tricky last year. The conditions weren't all that good on Thursday and Friday. Scotty Scheffler ends up winning this thing at I think it was 9 under, I believe. I think it should have been 11 under, but he, kicked around the ball on the 18th green there and like 4-putted his way to a 3-shot victory. It was ridiculous. But anyways, the forecast for this week, Joey, looks pretty miserable, if I'm being honest. Thursday looks fine, but Friday, Saturday, there is expected to be huge storms, at least as of now. Take this all with a grain of salt. That weatherman's not always right, to put it nicely, but there's supposed to be a lot of rain. And then even on the weekend, temperatures getting into the 50s and maybe the 60s on Sunday. So it could be a cold Masters. It could be really wet. I know Augusta National is known for having sub-air systems, not only on the greens, but in the fairways too, so they could suck out any pooling water, and the course conditions aren't going to be miserable, but I still think you can't deny the cold temperatures and the rain. The ball won't be traveling far. As of right now, it looks like this seriously could be one of the most difficult and strenuous Masters we've seen in recent years. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Maybe you want to profile players who play well in the wind or difficult conditions or in the cold, or maybe you want to target some more European players who are used to playing in the elements a little bit more in that style of golf. There's a lot of things to consider going into this week, Joey. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. It's still rattling my brain a little bit about how I want to go about my card and exactly who I want to pick because there's so much going on. But at the end of the day, Augusta is one of my favorite places. I love this course. I feel like I've gotten a decent grasp of it. It hasn't necessarily turned into winning in the past few years. I actually haven't won a major since DJ won the Masters here in the fall edition of 2020. So hopefully I can rewrite the script here a little bit and get back on the right side of things. You're on mute, brother. Typical Joey.
Absolutely typical me. But no, I'm glad that you mentioned the weather right there because, number one, I mean, that's like the best job in the world because you could be like 50% right and 50% wrong and still keep your job all the time. That's pretty much we're at a lower percentage as far as predicting outrights go. So we can't really talk shit. And this is, our job. So, but not like full time. But anyways, I do believe that, maybe some guys come to mind, like, maybe a particular Irishman come to mind playing out there, a little coastal action. We'll get to him in a second, but yeah, man, Augusta National. I think, obviously one of the top 5 longest average yardages on par 4s and par 5s. Pretty wide fairways comparatively to the other places, but total scoring average, this is all since 2015 on datagolf.com. Total scoring average to par is over 2. So, I mean, third hardest course in average score to par on par 4s since 2015, just over par. One of the hardest courses to putt on, too, strokes gained per putt. So the extremely fast bent grass greens. It's hard to predict that stuff as far as putting goes, obviously, but that's where you kind of look at maybe course history a little bit more, right? Like who has done it well and who can putt pretty well on bent grass greens. And there's a couple guys I have in mind, and maybe even one that's a longer shot that I normally wouldn't even take at a Masters type of event because, look at it, dude. Like we were talking about it off air, but the average winner here is 27-1 over recent years at Masters. So, it's just, we don't see it on tour really with the long shot odds guys even hitting. And kind of to your point about Corey Connors last week, maybe just the guys who look like it's a bad number, you just swallow it. You just eat the bullet, and you just bite the bullet and you just kind of go for it with maybe a 20-1 or just a favorite in this event. So, past winners, we know Tiger's won it, 5 times. It was kind of incredible seeing him win in 2019. Obviously, Scheffler, you talked about him last year. Scheffler has been rolling. And, if anybody's going to do it back-to-back, like Tiger has, I think he's got a very good chance of doing that. So I'm interested, Jack. Any final points on the course itself before we go and look at this board? Because very top-heavy.
Yeah, you actually mentioned one point I forgot to bring up. Course history, past results, past experience. Maybe not necessarily the most important statistic in terms of, who's going to win most weeks on the PGA Tour. And maybe that's something I'm guilty of, putting a little bit of too many eggs in one basket in the past, is just banking on guys who have done well at that course in previous appearances. But that actually is something that has, been pivotal for success at Augusta National, right? We rarely see debutantes perform very well. Not only is a first timer not put on the green jacket since 1979, but most of the time guys don't even make the cut, or if they do, they wind up in the 30s or the 40s and not so often contending. Now, it's not to say that can't happen. We see it every now and then. Will Z actually just contended in his first Masters a couple of years ago. So it's not to say it can't happen. It just usually doesn't. And a lot of the times we see similar names pop up at the top of the leaderboard here. And there's a lot of them that we'll talk about as we go down the betting board. So that's just one last thing I do think is a little bit more crucial this week than most events on the PGA Tour's course history, and at least having experience, having seen this course, because it's important to know the angles and the little tricks and where to leave your ball and what side of the fairway to hit and where you want to miss. All those are an advantage if you have that knowledge and have that already under your belt at Augusta National. So that's the one last thing that I wanted to get in real quick. But yeah, I'm ready to dive into this board, man, because there are a lot of names that we got to talk about.
A lot. And I'm guilty of that too. I am absolutely guilty of that too in other weeks, looking a little bit too deeply at course history. But what is this? The most predictive course as far as that goes for course history? At least if it's not number one, it's up there and probably top 3. So yeah, I love those points that you're making. With that said, let's hit a Masters outright. Can we do that? Can we get back on track? We're close. We've been really close. You've been right on the money here with the one and done pick. So whoever you do and you're one and done, I'm probably going to have to blindly bet. Or if I don't, because of where my funds are going, whoever's listening to this should probably blindly bet your one and done pick. Top of the board, Jack. Scotty Scheffler. Who's hotter than Scotty Scheffler? Nobody, I don't think. Rory McIlroy is up there as well. John Rahm is up there. Those guys are all under 10-1. You might be able to push those, though. Like, look for your boosters, right? Look for the boosted odds. If you're going to bet on one of these favorites, which I kind of recommend doing, at least one of them, look for the boosted odds. Get that number over 10-1 or at least 2 10-1. Jordan Spieth, 18-1, and then Patrick Cantlay, 20-1 is basically rounding out your top 5. Jack, I know where you're going. Tell me why, or talk about why you're not going with the other guys if you're not.
Oh, such a tough decision here at the top, Joey. And personally, if you're listening to this, you don't have to, but I think passing on these 3 completely is an absolute mistake. I think if you start your card at Spieth or Cantlay, I think it's an absolute mistake. I mean, these guys combined have already won 6 times on tour this season. Scotty Scheffler's won twice, 2 massive events in the Waste Management Phoenix Open and the Players. He's probably won like $10 million just in PGA Tour winnings already this season. Rory McIlroy is the one who hasn't won in 2023, but he did win at the CJ Cup earlier on in the season. Had another really good showing recently at the match play, of course, coming in with some solid form. And then John Rahm, it feels like he's, the coldest of the bunch here, but let's not forget, I mean, 4 weeks ago, this guy was hotter than Scotty Scheffler. He already has 3 wins on the PGA Tour in 2023, all big events, the Century Tournament of Champions, the Genesis, and what was the other one that he won? He won the, he won the American Express. 3 really big events all early on in the season. I think you have to take one of these guys. For me, it came down to Rory and Scotty. Passing on John Rahm terrifies me, of course, and he has some great finishes here. He's finished in the top 10 4 times in his last 5 appearances.
Yeah.
But for me, it came down to Rory and Scotty. And look, I just have these feelings sometimes, and it honestly reminded me of Dustin Johnson when I won here in 2020. It also reminded me of Will Zalatoris when I won the St. Jude's Invitational in the playoffs last year. I got to bet Rory. I got to bet Rory. And I know it's been the same storyline for the last 8 years now, going for the career Grand Slam. I just feel like, man, Rory McIlroy, I can't believe that he hasn't won a major since 2014. That's actually baffling to me. And last year, I was on Rory for most of the majors, broke my heart at the Open Championship. The end of the day, he's just too good to continue this spell of not winning major championships. And I know how much this is going to mean to him. I know how badly he wants to win. Not saying that it's been any different in past years, but he's gotten really close. I mean, he's finished inside the top 10 himself 6 times in the last 8 years. Had a solo second last year, even though it was kind of a backdoor and he was never really in contention. Just feel like the drive and the hunger, it absolutely has to be there for Rory McIlroy right now. I'm going to take him with the plus 300 enhanced odds that they're offering on DraftKings. I'm going to get him at 10-1 or 10.5-1. That's going to get bet to start my card. I'll tell you what, though, passing on Scotty Scheffler for the second year in a row at the Masters, it feels awful. And I promise you, if I go back and watch our show from the week after the Masters from last year, and I don't bet on Scotty Scheffler again, I might talk myself out of it because it felt like it was the most obvious thing in the world to do last year, and we didn't do it. Yeah. And again, this year, it kind of feels like the most obvious thing to do, and here I am betting Rory McIlroy. So it's just the way that I'm feeling right now deep down. I just feel like it's Rory's time. Does passing on Scotty scare the shit out of me? Yeah, but you can't bet all these guys at the top. So I'm going with Rory. That's where I'm starting my card. What are you thinking?
Well, you hit on a lot of great points there, and that's, I mean, look, I want to bet all 3 of these guys. I really, really do. Like, as obvious as it's been to bet Scotty over recent weeks and not getting there, and as frustrating as that has been for me as a bettor, like, I'm not going to do it again. I'm kind of caught in between, though. I want to do it, and I may still end up doing it with Scotty Scheffler. I don't think I'm going to bet Rory. even though you're making a lot of good points on Rory as well. The guy for me,
we all got to make our own decisions here.
you just have to. It's such a coin flip between these three. I mean, really, you need like a 3-sided coin, but like I don't know if they make those. I don't think they do. Jon Rahm is the guy for me. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but wasn't this guy after the Genesis Invitational and his third win of the season, didn't Rahm feel like a virtual lock for a top 10 or a top 5 just every outing? And I mean, it's like we're kind of, as a betting market, it seems like everybody's fading away from him now because of the hot run that Scotty's on. Rob is just as capable of going on these runs, and he's already proven that time and time again. And guess who does not have a Masters yet, along with Rory? Jon Rahm. I mean, like, he's got good course history here. He's 4th in strokes gained approach. I mean, he's got it all. He's got the entire toolbox to work with. So I really like. I mean, not to mention the places that he's been down outside of the top 10s at here. He's finished, a couple of T27s? So it's not like he was doing bad at those tournaments either at the Masters. So I think Rahm is where I'm going to start my card here this week at 10-1 enhanced odds. I no problem with any of the picks in this top 3, but Rahm is where I got to start my card, Jack.
I understand it. And passing on Rahm at those discounted odds, like you mentioned, I tweeted it out earlier today. I mean, Jon Rahm at 10-1 feels like a pretty, you could add him, get the plus 300 on DraftKings and get him at 13, 14-1. I mean, that's a time, almost best case scenario number for Jon Rahm. Plus, I mean, I talked about it in one of my articles, or that one actually hasn't came out yet, one that I'm working on. Jon Rahm was very quiet in majors last year, and I feel like, he's a fiery and feisty guy. He's got to be hungry to win another one because he's been so quiet since his 21 U.S. Open win. So, yeah, I'm certainly scared of Rahm too. But like you said, you can't bet all of them here at the top in this big 3.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's what scares me about Scheffler too, is he's that calm, quiet, like just cool kid in the majors. It just doesn't seem like he gets phased right now. And that's what really scares me about Scheffler if I do fade him, for example. So, I mean, Rory, that is mind-blowing, the 2014. He hasn't had a major since 2014, as well as he's played. He does not have a major since 2014. Mind-blowing stuff. If I had to bet, I'll put all my money in a basket and say who wins this major, it's one of these 3 this week. It's one of these 3, and we're going to kick ourselves for getting the one wrong. Like if you're on Rory and I'm on Rahm and it's Scheffler again and he wins again, I might lose my mind on the show next week. I might absolutely flip this laptop over mid-show next week.
And then I'll bet on Scotty Scheffler at the PGA Championship, and then he'll miss the cut, and then I'll bet on Scotty Scheffler at the U.S. Open, and then he'll blow it in the back 9 and come T2. Like, thanks, Scotty.
Yeah, you just never get Scotty right. It seems like you have before, but I don't think you're not the Scotty whisperer by any means.
I'm not a lot of people whisperers. It turns out. Apparently, I'm not a Siwoo whisperer or a Corey Connors whisperer.
We'll get to Siwoo though.
Whisperer.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can't say anything. So, anyways, moving on. We kind of bypassed Spieth and Cantlay a little bit. We talked about them a little bit, but. I'm not on either one of those this week. I don't know if you are, Jack. JT is 22-1, and then Finau is 24-1 before we start getting to that 25-1 is Xander Schauffele. And look around, obviously. That's not the same everywhere. By the way, before we kind of pause and look at all these golfers in this range, join us on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, I see you guys watching on Twitter. Join us on YouTube. You can comment. You can interact. You can tell us how dumb we are for betting on Rory and Rahm and not Scheffler again. Just tell us whatever you want. You could tell me how terrible I am at one and done. I mean, I love hearing how stupid I am. Joey knows nothing. Jack, did you get on Spieth, Cantlay, Thomas, Finau, Schauffele, Xander, any of those guys there?
So from this 18 to 25 pocket, I do think it's interesting. And here's what I kind of want to talk to you about and converse with you. I like Jordan Spieth. I don't like 18-1, but Big Dummy over here didn't like 22-1 Corey Connors either. And I came out with $0 last week. So in today's PGA Tour betting landscape that we live in, I feel like it's not ridiculous to have Rory McIlroy at 10.5 and then Jordan Spieth at 8. I'd like to get that up to 20. If I could get that to 20, it would be absolutely lovely. If I could find that somewhere or find some way to do that, that would be preferable. Do I have to throw a little bit more cheddar down on those guys and maybe have to take off some at the back end as a result? Yes, but most weeks that's been the correct path. So I feel like that's really where I am going to go this week. I like Jordan Spieth a lot. He's been playing some really good golf. He's come close a few times. The putter has kind of slipped away from him, but coming back to a place where even in his down years, right, he had some good finishes here. Arguably should have 3 green jackets already. I mean, he blew a couple away to go along with the one that he's already won. So I really do like Jordan Spieth this week. It's Easter Sunday at the Masters. That's when he won last time. He won Easter Sunday last year. Feels like Spieth has the Easter Sunday vibes going on. So he's kind of the one that I like out of this range the most. I'm going to skip on Cantlay at that number. I'm a big Patrick Cantlay guy. Just not going to get there at 20-1. I'm going to pass on Finau. Justin Thomas and Xander, I don't think I can get there with these guys. Xander had that good finish a couple of years ago and was really close to chasing down Hideki before he hit it in the water on 16. I just don't think I'm going to get there. JT's putter has not been good for quite some time. He's never even really been in contention all that much here anyways. So I'm probably passing on the rest of this range. Spieth is the one that I like the most. Xander is a bit intriguing, but I probably, if I am going to bet Spieth, I can't get to Xander at 25. So I'd go Spieth and Xander are the two that I like the most out of this range. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking Jordan Spieth goes to church on Easter Sunday at about 6 o'clock in the morning before he tees off. That's kind of what I'm thinking. No, man, I mean, I actually have a little bit more interest in the bottom of that range. So JT, I'm not going to bet JT, but the first in strokes gain around the green, I think that's pretty important here. So I could see JT doing well this tournament. I really could. Xander's not really a good bad weather golfer, but he's got the total package, right? He's got the total pack. Matter of when, not if, I think, when it comes to Xander as far as winning a major goes. And, I mean, over the last 5 years, he has gained the most strokes per round in majors out of anyone. So what does that tell you? He's kind of – I feel like it's just in the waiting, ready to happen at some point. So I think I might bet Xander at this tournament. Finau, I like Finau too. That was the second person I bet on. I bet on Rahm and I bet on Finau. 25-1 enhanced odds on MGM or enhanced at Rivers, but I think I was at MGM when I bet it, same price. So first 2 stats that stuck out to me on my watch for list, strokes gain approach and proximity. And Finau is 3rd in approach, 19th in proximity, 3 top 10s at the Masters. I like Tony. I think he's not the Tony where we can't count on this guy. So I really like Tony this week as well. Tony, if I had to rank him, I'd go Tony, Xander, and then JT, and I might not get to JT this week.
Tony's been playing some good golf. He hasn't really been in contention, but I don't think he has a finish outside of the top 25 in like 4 or 5 months. Like, he's been playing really good golf. His approach play has been good. The driver has been, interestingly, like, not gaining as much strokes for Tony recently, but you mentioned this is a course where he's played well in the past. Honestly, should have been right there in contention with Tiger in 2019. He was playing in that final group, but that was when Tony was still T5 Tony, and he didn't really care about winning golf tournaments. So, yeah, I mean, I get why you go to those guys. I just created different narratives in my head about going in a different direction. So I understand it, and that's the tough part about these tournaments, man, is just so many guys to choose from, and you can't get to them all.
Right, and I think that's why I'm taking less long shots than probably normal, just because we've built in our heads that they're just not winning. They're just not winning. And so that's why I feel like I have to get a couple, 2 or 3 guys in that 25-1 and under range. And that's kind of why I'm picking the guys at the back end of that range. Say, hey, they could still do it. The odds makers are saying that they're still very much in this thing. Why not go ahead and take the shot at the what feels like a long shot odds at this point? Like, how stupid is that to say? But that's kind of what it feels like. Just live your life. Are we going DJ? Are we Dustin Johnson here, 28-1? You want to talk about a guy who's been consistently placing well? All of a sudden, it's cool. It's cool now. Jack calls me a loser every week for betting on J-Day. All of a sudden, it's cool this week to bet on J-Day. A lot of people are doing it. It's the cool thing to do now. 28-1 Jason Day. I don't know. I'm going to have the serious case of FOMO like you did with Corey Connors if I don't bet Jason Day. So reluctantly, because I really don't want to bet on him here. I just don't. Reluctantly, I cannot miss out on the Masters with Jason Day. If he wins, I might just have to pull like a little. I mean, I've already lost so much money on him. Lost.
He's got you by the peaches right now. J-Day's got you by the peaches.
He does, and I'm pissed off. Are you on? I know you're not on Jason Day. Are you on Dustin Johnson this week?
Probably not. I don't really know what to think about these live golfers, to be honest. Yeah, don't really have a thought about any of them. Dustin's had some okay finishes. He's been playing decent golf, and obviously he's got a phenomenal track record here. That's really what led me to picking him in 2020. Not only was he on a heater of all heaters at that point in time, but his past results here are phenomenal. I do like DJ up there among probably right there with Cameron Smith at the top of all the live players I like the most. I just don't think I'm going to get there at 28-1 ultimately. I just don't know enough. I'm not going to take just a random shot in the dark at 28-1 on Dustin Johnson. I would understand if some people would, though, because that's probably the guy to do it on. But there are some other guys that I am genuinely interested in this range. Not Jason Day. I'm not interested in Max Homa. I know he's a different player now, but I'm just not going to get there. He's a guy I crossed off. I crossed off Cameron Young at 35-1. Maybe if Justin Thomas had the same odds as Colin Morikawa at 28-1, I'd consider Justin Thomas a little bit more. Even if Xander got there, I don't love Morikawa, but if he gets up to 30, I might have to bet him. I'm never right about Colin Morikawa, but he has progressed really well here at Augusta. He's had a better finish year after year, snuck his way into the top 5 last year. And he's actually done pretty well as far as his short game here in the past, which is obviously the weakness when you talk about it. Now, I do have a little bit of worries if it does play colder, and I don't really like the California boys who are used to that warm weather. I don't know if I want them in the brisk temperatures. So I do have some concerns about Morikawa, but the odd part about it all, Joey, is that I looked at Morikawa's numbers, and I saw how badly he's been putting as of late. And I thought, well, I'm always wrong on Morikawa, and in my brain, looking at those putting stats, I'd want nothing to do with him this week. And then maybe I reverse jinx myself. Maybe this is how I should be betting Morikawa.
All right.
Maybe that's when I hop on. So 30, if it gets there, is a little bit intriguing. I think I have room for one more guy in this range. The other one is Cameron Smith. And again, this is one of those situations where if Cameron Smith gets to 40-1, I see it as big as 35-1 on DraftKings right now. If Cam Smith gets to 40-1, I think it has to be bet. I think it absolutely has to be bet. I know that we have no clue how he's been playing lately, if he's been playing good, if he's been playing bad. His track record, not only at major championships, but here at Augusta, is undeniable. He's such a creative and unique player. Has the skills to get it done, especially if it plays more difficult, and he's one of the best short game guys in the world. I mean, that's really what he's known for, right? So I think if it gets to 40-1, Cameron Smith feels like an auto bet to me at that point. But what are you thinking from this range? I'm really curious to hear what you were thinking about these guys.
Man, I feel like I get Cam Smith right more often than not. And for some reason, I don't want to bet him this week. And I don't know what it is. It's probably just the unknown more than anything. With the live, it's the unknown way more than anything else. I can't say anything terrible about him. Like you said, his track record here. What, his last 5 times here? A third, a 10th, a second, okay, 51, and then a fifth in 2018. So, I mean, like, what are we doing with Cam Smith here? I could absolutely see him doing well. Morikawa, man, I love the irons. You said that, though, with the short game. I don't trust the short game here. I just really don't. I can't. I don't know what it is. But here, if he putts better here, then that makes sense, which he has putt pretty decently here. This is a tough place to putt. So if he's figured it out here, maybe that says something, right? I definitely think with the irons, he's going to be in contention for the most part. I think he's going to be as a floor, like a top 20, top 30 guy, I think, for Morikawa, unless he absolutely just shits the bed from the short game, which he could. Max Homa, though, not great at the Masters, right? But kind of like you said, he's a different guy now. I mean, on his way here, Jack, the 2 wins this season, a second, a T14, a T8, a T9. Like, Max Homa, I think, out of this range is probably the guy that I want to bet on. Just because I think he kind of has the stones for it at this point. I really do. I don't think he's not a guy that's shying away from the big dogs late in tournaments. Like, this is a guy that's going to be in there and in contention late. Max Homa really might be a bet for me at this point. I could see it's not that he can't do it. Absolutely he can. He's kind of like a budding star. We've seen him up there towards the top of the odds boards with, like your John Rahms and stuff over recent weeks, right? But worse fields. But we've seen him up there, so who's to say that he can't? At worse odds, or you're getting me a better price than Jason Day, a guy who I love, but has not – I mean, like –
That's ridiculous.
To me, that's kind of crazy, right? Like 34-1, Max Homa. I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I get the Jason Day thing here at Augusta, but this is Max Homa, who has actually been really contending, not just placing well, but actually contending in tournaments. So, yeah, I think I might have to bet on Max Homa from this range, Jack.
I will add this real quick, too. Outside of the big three of Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, and John Rahm, I'm still not going to bet on Homa this week. I've already made up my mind on that. If he goes on to win, so be it. Outside of that big three, if he's in contention on Sunday, there might be no one I have more confidence in. Like, he is a stone
closer
on Sundays. He's a killer, and he's shown that now in tough fields, in good events, on difficult courses. He has the game to get it done and grind through a grueling Sunday. So I will say that if Max Homa is around on Sunday, maybe worth a live bet.
I was just going to ask you that. I'm glad you said that. Is that a live bet for you on Sunday? Yeah.
Maybe. There's, interesting. As we scroll down to this next range, there's maybe one other guy I'd rather have in a situation where he's in contention on Sunday.
Don't say Victor Hovland.
I'm not betting on this guy either. No, it's not fucking Victor Hovland. He's never won in America.
I know it wasn't going to be Victor, but 40-1 Victor. Brooks Koepka, 44-1. Sam Burns, 45-1. Sanjay M, 45-1. Will Zalatoris, 45-1. Hideki Matsuyama, obviously, is one here, 46-1. We're not going to get to your boy yet. It's somebody in this range. I know it is. Jack, who is that guy on Sunday if he's in contention that you're betting on?
I'm not betting this guy either, at least to start the tournament, but Brooks Koepka. If he's there on Sunday, I mean, he means business. You know that he can lean on that experience. He absolutely knows what it takes to get it done. I know Brooks was kind of an embarrassment at Augusta last year, at least for his standards for sure, but obviously has been turning it around. A lot of people are on him this week because he just won Live Orlando last week. His odds got shredded from like 90 to 44. I'm not going to get there, but if Brooks is in contention on Sunday, look out for Brooksy. But honestly, from this range, I'm not going to get there. Victor, I crossed him out. I'm not going to bet on Brooks, like I said. I'm not betting on Sam Burns. I'm probably not going to get there on Sungjae. I think he could be a good top 10 bet. I just don't see him winning personally.
Same. I like the top 10 angle, though.
I'm not going to get there with Hideki. I mean, if Hideki wins 2 Masters in 3 years, fucking good for Hideki. I'm not going to bet Hideki at 46-1. Willie Z is the really interesting one.
Yes, thank you.
Nobody wants anything to do with him because he had an illness at the match play. I think everyone's assuming that he withdrew from the match play due to a back injury, which was not the case. It was just an illness for Willie Z, and Two Masters here, two really good finishes. A lot of people are obviously scared of his putter. He's actually the best putter at Augusta National since he made his debut here, 45 to 1. If you told me, Joey, the week after I won Will Zalatoris at the St. Jude's that I'd get a 45 to 1 on him at the Masters, I'd say auto bet, right?
I'd say so. The way that he's looked here too, like you said, I,
Especially if it
that's
plays
I'm
difficult, if it plays more difficult and he's a ball striker, hits the ball a long way.
I'm really
He's a good
conflicted.
putter now.
I am really conflicted. This is the hardest in this range for me. I easily crossed off the others because Sanjay, I just don't believe in winning it. I really don't. It's the same thing that you said. I just don't believe in him actually pulling it through. Brooks, there's absolutely no shot. I don't care if he's in it on Sunday. I'm going to disagree with you there because I think he's just too much of a head case at this point. Like when he's in, like for him, maybe not a head case. I shouldn't say that. For him, he's going to put way too much pressure on himself. And maybe this is as somebody who watched Full Swing and just like maybe I'm taking that too much to heart here. It's just like you could see how much it bothers him when he leaves the golf course and he overthinks and thinks and thinks. Not to say that all these guys don't, but and maybe that was just a perception they were trying to give of Brooks for that documentary. I don't know. But it really seems like if he's going to be there late, even if he's in contention and golfing well, I think he might put a little bit too much pressure on himself to win this tournament. So I'm not going to do the Brooks thing. Willie Z, man, that is absolutely the hardest for me in this range. I want to go there. How many guys can I bet? It's the Masters. How much money do I want to make in off the Masters? I want to make some pretty good money if I'm going to win it outright. So reluctantly, he's probably going to get crossed off. That might be a live bet for me, though. Willie Z.
Kind of what I'm thinking, too.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. Corey Connors, man, yo boy, 50 to 1. Matt Fitzpatrick, 50 to 1. Justin Rose, 60 to 1. Tommy Fleetwood, 60 to 1. Shane Lowry, 65 to 1. Jarrell Atten, 65 to 1. This is another interesting. Everybody in this tournament is interesting. So I know I'm saying like repeating the same word and it just sounds dumb at this point because I keep saying everything's interesting, but it really is, Jack. I don't know what you're doing with your boy this week. I don't know if you're betting him. I don't think you are, but are you? Is it the case of like you missed out on him last week, so now you got to go back to the well for the Masters?
What a heartbreaker it would be if Corey Connors goes on to win the Masters. I mean, I'm probably not getting there. Honestly, this is where it starts dwindling for me a little bit. And you mentioned earlier on in the show, the average odds of guys that win the Masters is 27 to 1. Mm-hmm. And also, no player outside of the top 18 in the world has won the Masters in like forever. So it's hard to really have interest in too many of these guys and take them seriously. Not to say that it can't happen. It just hasn't historically. So, this is where I really start to lose some interest. I'm probably not going to get on Connors. Fitzpatrick's game feels like it would fit well here, but he's just been so bad as of late that I can't do it. The one that I will say interests me the most is Justin Rose, and even with enhanced offers on Bet Rivers, you can get him at 66 to 1 for a guy who I know he's missed the cut here 2 out of his last 3 appearances at the Masters, but he was on a great run in the prime of his career, and he really has kind of revitalized his game and is playing better than he has so during that stretch. So he's got a lot of course history. He's obviously a prestigious player. Just won Pebble Beach not all that long ago, a T6 at the Players Championship recently, great on approach. So I think Justin Rose at 66 to 1 is a pretty good number. Other than that, though, man, even down the rest of the board, like I'm not going to get there on Tommy. Shane Lowry, I will say, is interesting because of his past results. He's just been putting like absolute dog shit for like 3 months now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm not going to get there on Hatton. He hates this course, verbally and outspokenly hates this course. Also missed the cut last week, I believe. I've seen a lot of people with big Min Woo numbers at like 140 to 1 from prior to this run that he's been on recently. I'm not going to get on him at 66. Like there just are maybe 2 or 3 guys that I legitimately have interest in, and given how I'm going to be betting at the top of the board, I can probably only squeeze in one.
Did we bet Hatton to miss the cut last week? Why do I feel like we talked about it?
I didn't end up betting Hatton to miss the cut, which was sad. We should have.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about that though. Wow, if I didn't bet that, I'm gonna be pissed. Now I got to go back and look. Yeah, man. I Rose, you make a lot of good points about Rose too. I was not really looking at Rose this week, and I probably should be. To be honest with you, I really probably should be. I don't know. 66-1. If you can get that number, that might be worth a bet. I thought Hatton made a lot of sense just the way he's golfed up until last week. But like you said, if he doesn't like this course, what's the point in doing that? So Lowry, he's from Ireland. He's used to playing on the coast. Could be some real shitty weather, the wind, the rain. Like, is that going to bother him? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to bother Mr. Shane Lowry. So
he won the Open in bad conditions.
I could see him really having a strong performance here, man. He's one of the best iron players. I think he could really. The putter is very concerning, especially recently. The putter is the thing with Shane Lowry. But at 65-1, I'm not going to say this is where I end my card, but this is one of my final bets outright. I think I might do Shane Lowry. Haven't done it yet. Might do Shane Lowry though.
I understand completely. Want to throw out names from this 7 and down range?
We haven't talked the GOAT. Have we talked the GOAT yet? We haven't. Tiger Woods is sitting there at 80-1. Are you firing up the way back-o-meter, the 2019? Is he got a little bit more magic left in him here? The beat up Tiger?
No. If you're watching this and you're thinking of betting Tiger Woods outright, no. It would be 80 times more miraculous than him winning the 2019 Masters. This dude, he still can't even really walk. Even on flat courses, he has a hard time stringing together 4 consistent days. This is just going to be such a treacherous walk for him. And I thought it was even kind of interesting to hear him talk about his chances this week. You know, usually when he's asked if he thinks he can win a tournament, it's, yeah, absolutely.
I'm here to win. Yeah, I'm here to win, right? That's what he said.
He kind of gave a little bit of a different answer. He said, it's just like his leg still doesn't feel as good as he wants it to. And I believe he even said it didn't feel as good as it did at certain times in the past. So he's still having issues with that. The conditions are not going to be favorable for him, especially if it's, raining and playing more difficult. He doesn't hit the ball as far as he used to. He still can. It's just going to be tough for him and his body. There's just no way that Tiger Woods wins this thing. Go bet him to make the cut. That's the way smarter bet. The way smarter bet. And you can find boosts out there that'll give it to you for even money. Don't think about betting Tiger 80-1. If it happens, I should probably quit doing the show forever. But there's just no way. There's no way.
Well, that's the one guy though. If you don't bet and he wins, you're not really gonna be mad. Like, we're all going to be cheering for him to win at that point, right? Like, I'm not going to be mad if I miss a bet and Tiger Woods is the guy that wins it. I'm going to be like, hell yeah, Tiger won it. Like, I'm not going to be upset at all, I don't think. And sorry, Tony, on tap, Tony on tap. If you're listening to this and you're betting Tiger Woods, I think just don't listen to us. We're telling you not to, but I think I want to say he did last year. I don't know. So, well, anyways, I think I like Tiger for a top 40. I do like Tiger for a top 40. Because if he makes the cut, he's probably going to get top 40 though, right? Like,
I don't know. I worry about him fading, especially Saturday and Sunday when it's going to be really cold, man. Like, I think he can make the cut and get through Thursday and Friday, but like, I certainly think he can shoot like 76 or 77 on the cold days.
Yeah.
50.
Well, if you can get even money though, like you said, on a made cut, I'll do that for sure. I think that's a lock.
That's a must.
Not a lock, but it's a must because you want to get a piece of Tiger. So Patrick Reed, I've seen some steam on this week. That's an interesting name. I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you there's a guy that in here that 100-1 Tom Kim. What are we doing with 100-1 Tom Kim? Like, I'm not betting. I'm actually a little bit upset because I placed a futures bet on Tom Kim at 65 to 1, or maybe it was 80 to 1. I think it was 80 to 1 a while back, and I was expecting him to start rattling off some wins and really be in contention a lot, and and then he went down. I saw him earlier at 75 to 1, and I see him now on a book at 100 to 1. So I'm a little upset because I'm sitting there with a stupid 80 to 1 ticket, and he's up there to 100 to 1 now. I mean, Tom Kim, I don't know. It was wishful thinking on my part to bet Tom Kim future where I saw it, but his number kept going down for a while. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Patrick Reed or Tom Kim here?
I have seen the Patrick Reed buzz this week, and I actually bet on him last year. I don't think I'm gonna get there this year. Tom Kim, that's tough because honestly, the 80 to 1 are what you got. At the time, we thought that number was for sure going to drop the way that he was playing right when he came off on tour, but he's really cooled off here as of late. Now dipped all the way to 100 to 1. He's a debutant. I'm not going to get there. It's great odds, I will say. I'm just not going to get there with Tom Kim this week. And yeah, this is where it really gets thin to me. Like, I think there's only one guy who I genuinely would be interested in the outright market. Shout out my boy Siwoo, 120 to 1. I bet Siwoo the last 2 years at this tournament gonna kill me to pass him up at 120 to 1. Those are some good odds. But the last one that intrigues me is Abraham Answer, 140 to 1. You can get him out there at. He literally won a Asian Tour event in, I think it was Saudi Arabia, like a month ago. 140 to 1 for a guy who has played the Masters before. Like, give me some Abraham Answer.
That's a good number.
That's really it. That's all the interest I got. I don't think anyone down here is really going to win.
I'll give you one more name, and that's my last one that I added. My absolute last one, because I don't want to go far.
Bryson? You bet Bryson?
Nope. No, I can't go Bryson. I just
Why
can't.
not? It's a par 67 for him.
I mean,
so good here.
Good iron play, baby. Who's first? Yes. Mr. Hoagie Buns himself. Dude, he's first in approach this year. That means something. I gotta say, if you're just looking at it from that, he's also been putting really well on bent grass greens, fast bent grass greens at that. I think if he could put together, I mean, what is he? I need to look back at his track record, but Hoagie makes a ton of sense. So he finished 39th last year. One for one, cuts made. I mean, 39th. I don't know. I mean, his last tournament, he wasn't great, but he was a third place before that. Hoagie, he could pop. I don't know. At this price, 120 to 1? Like, I'll take a shot there. It's not anything crazy. I'm not going to put as much on him as I am going to put. I'm getting a text now about back-to-back jacks. Yeah, she's definitely watching the Brewers. Got a Brewers fan texting me about that. I don't want to hear that right now about the Brewers. I'm sorry. Go Cubs are up 12 to 3. Holy shit. Let's go, Jack. All right. Prop bets. You got any props for me? I'm going to have my props laid out tomorrow. So anybody who's real interested in that, you can either check that out, either in article form, or I will be tweeting them out or doing like some short clip or something stupid. But we can run through a couple of these, or maybe I can react to some of your prop bets if you have any, Jack. You got any?
Yeah, I got 3, and I actually have already placed these. Or I have 4 prop bets. I have 3 top 20s. My first one was Abraham Answer at plus 280. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get there in the outright market, but I do think that's a really fair price for a top 20. Kurt Kitayama, too, plus 320, especially if this play is difficult. Give me some Quadzilla is his nickname. Been playing really good golf. Obviously won a prestigious event at the Arnold Palmer Invitational not that long ago. Over 3 to 1 odds for him to come top 20. I know he's a debutant, but I do think he has the game to hang around. And then the last one was Kevin Na, plus 500. Like a lot of these live guys, I don't really know how they've been playing for that tour, but Kevin Na is a guy who has some decent track record here, and you're giving me 5 to 1 odds for him to come in the top 20, which, just as a reminder, at Augusta National is in the top quarter of the field. I think Kevin Na is still capable of doing that. So those were the 3 top 20s that I took. The other prop I have was top Canadian, Corey Connors, minus 150. I didn't love the juice, but he's also in contention with Adam Svensson, Mackenzie Hughes, and Mike Weir. So Corey Connors obviously has a good track record here. Just won last week. I think minus 150. Don't love that line. I still think it made a lot of sense. So it's what I got in right now. Has there been any lines or anything that have caught your eye, at least off the rip? I know you said you got a lot of stuff coming tomorrow, but anything that you
Yeah.
before we talk about one and done and get on out of here?
I mean, I don't love the juice or the price on it, but I kind of like the Danny Willett top 40. I think that's solid here. I mean, the top 40 run that he's been on, the experience, plus the former champ in this tournament, I like his odds to finish top 40. I really do. Other than that, like the guys that we've talked about that we do have strong interest in, I think I'm going to lean into those guys as far as like top 10 markets, top 20 markets, stuff like that. Head-to-head matchups I really haven't looked too heavily into, and that's something I usually like to do. But I think they're giving you some decent prices for top 40s considering there's only 88 in this tournament. So the fact that if you can get even somebody close to even money that you feel strongly about this week for a top 40, just take it. I know it's not a great payout, but that'd be like my one advice this week of like, hey, you feel good about somebody for that, even a top 20 or top 30 even. Like DraftKings, you can find those top 30 guys. Shout out to our sponsors, Bet Rivers, though. You can find them over there as well. Promo code ONTAP, $250 deposit match, ONTAP at betrivers.com. But, yeah, Jack, I don't know. Those are kind of like the nationality props I really didn't really look into this week. So I don't love anything in that market. I guess if you wanted to go look at maybe the top Australians and, who I'd probably bet in that market. But no, I really didn't look at nationality props. Did you get anywhere there?
So I got the Connors minus 150 for the top Canadian. The other one,
oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
it's not on DraftKings, and I actually haven't seen this myself, but I heard about it. Was the top South American market because it's Joaquin Niemann, Mito Pereira, and one amateur. And I heard Joaquin Niemann was minus 125 to be the top South American. That was something I really liked as well. So if I can find that, that might be one other thing that I get into. But other than that, I didn't really like the top Englishman or Australian or anything. Those were the only ones that really caught my eye.
Yeah, I think the Corey Connors one though, I do like that. Even though it's minus 150, I like that too. Yeah, man. Other than that, I think you know what time it is.
Oh, I know.
Well, you know what time it is. So you need to go first because you're way up. You're miles ahead of me. You're giving me a chance to get back in this race. Still somewhat. Not really, though. Like, let's be honest. You're not going to finish 51st in this tournament. So, I mean, you never know. But who you got, Jack? Hit me with it. If this guy finishes, if he racks up 51 times 3 on your card this week, I would be absolutely shocked. But tell all the people who your one and done is.
Yeah, I've been saving him for this very spot. I thought about using him a couple of times earlier on in the season, but I'm going with my gut. I'm going with my heart. Rory McIlroy, one and done at Augusta National. Back-to-back winners in the one and done. He gets the Grand Slam. Be an epic way to start major championship season. Sticking with Rory is my one and done here at Augusta National. Very curious to hear who you're going with.
So I've went with some big dogs. I've used JT. There's a couple others in there. I think I've used Hideki. I want to say I might have even used Lowry at this point. I'm not quite sure, but
you have not.
I have not used him. Did I use Tom Kim? I did use Hoagie. I know I used Hoagie.
Used Hoagie a while ago. You have not used Tom Kim. I don't know if you want to use him here though.
No.
Yeah, you haven't used Lowry yet. The other big gun that you've used JT, you've used Hideki, and you've used Matthew Fitzpatrick. So you have a lot. I mean, you could go Scott.
And Rose too, I think.
I mean, I guess you could consider him a big gun.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you who it is though. It's unquestionably a big gun. We're going with Jon Rahm.
Oh, baby.
I had to cut down the top. We had to cut down the top somehow. It was between him or Scheffler. I didn't know if that was going to be my hedge bet, whether I was going to bet Rahm and then just do the one and done with Scheffler. I can't do that after what I'm not making the same mistake you made last week. If I'm picking a one and done winner, that has to be the rule now. When you pick your one and done, you bet on the one and done. I bet on John Rahm. John Rahm is my pick for the one and done.
Rory versus Rahm, first major of the year. I mean, that's how you draw it up, baby. It's going to be a fun weekend.
Let's go. Let's go. Jack, favorite bet other than Rory, if there is one. Is there a favorite bet outside of Rory?
Sticking with it, baby.
All right. My favorite bet is John Rahm. Rahm versus Rory, the Masters. Who's going to put on the green jacket? Please let it be one of our picks. Yeah, it's going to be Scheffler. It's going to be Scheffler. We absolutely jinxed the shit out of it. Jack, great show as always. Any final thoughts before we head into the Masters?
God damn it, I'm due. I mean, man, a lot of close calls. I haven't won a major in almost 3 years now. It's been quite some time, and I've had a lot of close calls. Had both guys who tied for second at the U.S. Open last year. I had Scotty Scheffler and Will Zalatoris, both tied for second. I had Rory McIlroy at the Open. He gagged it away. I had Rory McIlroy at the Masters last year, second place. I had seconds at 3 of the 4 majors. Come on. Give me Rory this week. He's my favorite bet. He's my one and done. I feel it's the time for Rory. I really hope when we visit this clip on Monday that it just goes to perfection. Pull it out for me, Rory. Let's get the Grand Slam this week, baby. 6th in the history of professional golf.
Wow. I would love to see it. If I'm not going to win, I want you to make money. I want you to hit this outright, and then it's still good for the show. It's good for the show. It's good for me. Jack, I absolutely love this episode. Always love talking golf with you as we've done all season long. So if you're new here, be sure to tune in on Tuesdays. We try to do this every Tuesday night. Next week, I forget what term it's next week. I'm not even looking ahead to next week. It's the Masters. What's next week?
It's a good one. It's the RBC Heritage, which is now an elevated. This fucker's got to go the week after the Masters.
That's right, baby. No days off over here. No days off with these golfers anymore. But the live guys won't be there. But hey, it'll be fun to see all these guys back. Not gonna lie. I know we're supposed to hate, resent, whatever you're supposed to do with the live guys. I personally don't. I understand they just took the bag. Sometimes it is what it is. And you know what? They're the ones that are missing out, unfortunately, because they're not playing real golf as far as I see it. So with that said, hope you guys cash your tickets. Hopefully you get an outright. Hopefully you found something that you can find useful from this episode. We'll be back again next week. You can follow us at On Tap Bets and at Golf On Tap, or actually it's at On Tap Golf, but we are Golf On Tap. He is at Jack Bushman 2. I am at Joey Knows Nothing. Crack them, cash them, lock them, and good luck.